Hi, everyone. Welcome back. As promised, every Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Arizona time. Ariana Arroyo with Platinum Living Realty. And
Julian Nazario with guaranteed rate mortgage advisor.
so today we'll be discussing what are the requirements and the process to applying for a mortgage loan. We get asked this quite a bit as usually our consumers don't know where to start, right?
Yeah, it could be a daunting, task or thought to get pre-qualified to purchase a home. There are a lot of things to consider, and so we kind of get into analysis paralysis situation with most buyers, and that's what I'm here to do is to educate and reduce that stress and anxiety when it comes to purchasing a home. And so, we want to kind of break down some of those requirements and the process, and again, dispel maybe some of the myths that go into it.
For sure. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for anybody that wants to explore the option of home buying. It doesn't have to be that daunting as you were mentioning, Julian, right? We're going to hold your hand all the way. So can we start by maybe just discussing a little bit, Julian, of what does that mean? What are the requirements for someone to apply for a loan? Aside from doing the application itself, and we'll go through the process here shortly, but what do I need? What kind of documents would a buyer need to provide in order for you to see where they stand?
Yeah. So in the world of lending, there's essentially three pillars that we lean on to help us guide and educate and qualify a buyer, which are income, credit, and assets. And I'll kind of go over, kind of a high level overview of the requirements on each of those pillars, and we can break any one of them down in further detail with any questions that you commonly see from buyers. But income and employment. So you have to have a 2-year history of employment, and the, we use a formula to determine that you're not spending too much on your mortgage payment, which is called your debt to income ratio. So the depending on the loan program that you're going into, the maximum debt to income ratio is somewhere between 45% to 50%. And this
Okay.
formula again is simple. We just take your gross monthly income and we divide that by your expenses, your credit obligations, if you will. So auto loans, um, credit cards, installment loans, all those things that are reporting on your credit, and that's how we come up with your debt to income ratio. So that is one pillar of the three that we look at. The um, second one that we really lean into is your credit, and this just measures your ability and willingness and stability to repay a debt. So the minimum credit score requirement is five. It depends again on the program that we put you into, but the minimum credit score requirement is 580. Average is about 660, and then anything over 740 is top tier. So that's kind of the high
So let
level.
me let
Sure.
me just interrupt there for a second, just to make sure that our viewers are understanding correctly. So I want everybody to keep in mind every situation is different. So when Julian says between 580 and above, there's a lot of other guidelines and requirements that may need to be considered. So that's why it's always great to talk to a professional. So,
No,
just I just needed to throw out that disclosure right there. But go ahead.
no, it's a great point. You don't want to rule yourself out of you know qualifying to purchase a home. There are so many different factors involved when it comes to
Right.
purchasing a home. So, like you mentioned, when we're looking at a credit score between 580 and 620, there's a little bit more stipulations involved. However, there could be other compensating factors within your financial profile that help us get to an approval. So again, it's never make that assumption, and we generally have that conversation, a general conversation up front to talk about some of those questions and concerns one might have.
For sure.
And so, yeah, like I said, the third pillar is going to be assets or cash. So this is measured in percentages. There are zero down programs like VA, USDA, 3% to 3.5% with a conventional mortgage will get you 3%, and an FHA mortgage will do 3.5%. And then 20% is really the maximum, but not a requirement, which a lot of home buyers think that you need to have in order to qualify.
Say what? So you're saying I could buy a home with 0% down, or if I want to put a down payment, it could be as minimum as 3%?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Minimum down payment requirement is 3% especially for first-time home buyers, on a conventional loan, and 3.5%. And this can come from, obviously your own assets like checking, savings, 401k, gifts from relatives, really anywhere as long as we can verify the source of the funds.
Okay, so then let me ask you this, because I do get asked for my clients on the funds, and if I'm getting a gift, or maybe I have some savings under the mattress, how does that work?
Yeah, so mattress money, it depends. There is a way to use it. There are, quite some hoops to jump through in order to prove that this is a normal, pattern for you. So like, I'll give you an example. Servers, they usually get cash tips. And so it's expected with that type of line of work that, you would have cash deposits into your bank account. And so, like I said, as long as we can verify and kind of show a pattern of that behavior, then, we may be able to use that.
So generally speaking, correct me if I'm mistaken, but generally speaking, we would need the money seasoned meaning being in the bank account for 60 days, correct? In order to be used.
Right. Yeah. If it's pure cash that you've just been holding, again, on the mattress or in the cupboard, yeah, we do have to have that money seasoned, or be able to see that in a bank account for more than a 2-month period, or allow two statement cycles to go by.
Okay, so if I'm gathering all the documents you need, I have a conversation with you, I've submitted my application. What are the documents required that you're going to need in order to verify the 3 pillars that you just discussed?
Yeah, so your standard or typical documents are going to be your W-2s from employers for the last 2 years, pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements, driver's license, bank. I already mentioned bank statements. Those are the high level documents that we'll need, and as we start to receive some of these, then additional documentation may be requested or required.
Is this per person applying?
Yeah, for each borrower on the application, if we have, again, income or employment documented, then yeah, we do need to verify the information that's stated on our application.
Awesome. So I think this clarifies, quite a bit what is needed to get, at least start the pre-approval process, correct? So now we're really getting into or diving into the process. The first step is, of course, to talk to you once the application has happened, or does the consultation with you happens before, I apply?
Yeah, so typically how it works out is that, a buyer reaches out, or you refer a client over. I'm just going to have a general conversation at first, again, to address any questions or concerns. A lot of the common questions I get are, how long does it take, to get pre-approved? Is there a cost involved? How long is my approval good for? Are there any first-time home buyer programs? Things like that I like to again answer first before we jump into having you fill out an application. Find out kind of what's your motivation to purchase a home, what's driving you to purchase a home. Kind of find out those things, get to know you a little bit, and then have you fill out what I call a questionnaire where we get your basic details: name, date of birth, social, address, and then income and employment, copy of your credit report, and your assets. So uh, you fill out that questionnaire, and then within 24 to 48 hours, we'll schedule what I call the initial consultation. We'll review all of those details together and make sure everything is entered into your application accurately, and then start to talk about what you're looking for in terms of time frame and location and property type. Then we'll break down your sales price, your price point, your monthly payment goal, your cash to close goal. So you'll get very clear on all of those items. And again, we kind of go into further detail. And usually in this process, it starts to spur additional questions that you didn't think to ask in the first place, or I start to tell you some of the questions you should be asking. As a home buyer, especially with the way markets, shift, like we've seen this year from one extreme to the next, and kind of an
Right.
educational process of where we were, where we are now, and what our plan is going forward.
Okay. Well, it's very important to stay up to date, especially like you said, with everything changing. Always rely on your real estate professionals to guide you through, especially if you have any questions or any doubts, please reach out. So, there's quite a few questions that I get asked all the time, and is who do I contact first? Do I look for a real estate agent or do I look for a mortgage lender? There's no right or wrong answer here, guys. Because if you reach out to, your mortgage lender, your preferred mortgage lender, then they will do, that consultation. Now, mind you, remember, not everybody does the same type of work in the sense that we all have different experience levels or skill sets. So you have to make sure that you're choosing the right professional to help you out. But if you, apply or do the pre-approval process first, if you don't have a real estate agent that is helping you out, then most likely that mortgage lender is going to connect you to their preferred real estate agent, and vice versa. If you get to me as a real estate professional first and you're not connected to a mortgage lender, then I will certainly connect you with, the mortgage lender that is going to be able to help you, get pre-approved and help you and hold your hand through the process to get you to that goal, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's the proverbial what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Depends
Right.
on who you ask. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to that question.
Right. So, either way, you're going to get, to the same exact, spot. So anything else that you want to add before we keep, I guess, going into, a few extra questions that I usually get from my clients?
No, not that I can think of at the top of my head right now. I think we can maybe carry on. I think there's a question on from the live. Maybe you want to get to. Does the years have
Okay.
to be consecutive? What if there are gaps? So that is a great question that does come
Yep.
up. The years do not necessarily need to be consecutive. We do just need to document at least a 2 year history. If there are gaps, it depends on, so again, the loan program. So if the rule of thumb when it comes to gaps in employment is, if there's a gap of 6 months or more between your last employer, your previous employer, and your current employer, then you need to be with your current employer for 6 months, just to be able to show, again, like we talked about earlier, that stability and ability. When it comes to a mortgage, we are assessing risk. And again, it doesn't matter if you have an 800 credit score and a million in the bank. A loan is a risk, and so as a lender, we're looking to mitigate those with compensating factors, and length of time on a job is how we kind of again mitigate that risk. So great question, but yes, does not need to be consecutive. And if there's a gap of 6 months or more, then you want to be on your current job for 6 months.
Okay, so then let me ask you this: W-2 employee versus self-employed,
Yes.
or switching back and forth. I'm not
Right.
gonna make it as easy for you, Julian. Come on.
That gets tricky, that gets challenging. So if you're going, I'll go the easy route first. If you're going from
Okay.
self-employed to a W-2 wage earner, if we as long as we can verify, contact your employer and verify, what your start date, what your hourly wage is, and the probability of your employment continuing, then we can use that effective immediately. Again, we're going to need to use we're going to document your 2-year history of employment, self-employment with your tax returns. And then, as long as we can do that, then we can move right into qualifying you with W-2 employment. The
Gotcha.
other way around, when you're going from working for a company to self-employment, you're definitely going to need to be self-employed for 2 full years. Um,
Okay.
and not just 2 calendar years, where a lot of people kind of think, or I see some other declines happen because you think you have 2 tax returns of self-employment doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily mean you're 2 years of self-employed.
So
So
again, I can't stress it. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say there are alternative lending
Uh-huh.
options. I should say that that can qualify you for self-employment if you're 1 year self-employed, which are bank statement loans, where we can get your accountant or CPA to kind of verify your profit and loss, and or use your 1099s in order to qualify you. So kind of like what you were just about to say, every situation is unique. There's plenty of different loan options, and
Yes.
it depends on what your goals in particular circumstances are.
Yes, we can't stress it enough, guys. Really reach out. It doesn't hurt. It's just a phone call, a text, an email away to get a response. Don't rule yourself out because you might be missing out on something that you can make it happen. So once you get, I guess once you get all documents from a potential homeowner, how long does it take you to revise everything? Once application and documents are submitted, how long till we know, they are pre-approved or not, and what would be the game plan? When does that happen? What's the time frame of that?
Yeah, so depends on the complexity of the file. Again, we're looking at self-employment. We need a profit and loss statement and balance sheet and a few more other things. And then, but typically, I would say 24 to 48 hours from the time
Okay.
that we're getting all the documents to review everything for accuracy and double check work. And at that point, then we can issue that pre-qualification letter. So
Okay.
that's
So
go ahead.
when the pre-qualification letter is done, which, guys, the pre-qualification letter, what that means is just really a form that when you are pre-approved, Julian will send to me, your real estate agent, so I know exactly how much you're approved for the purchase of the home, and it has all the terms that helps me send you the right homes to take a look at. So, and I'm saying this because I get asked a lot, can we look at homes now? Well, define now, right? If I have that pre-approval letter from Julian, yes. Otherwise, we can't, because we really don't know what you can afford. We don't know what price range we're looking at. So we really need to get all those um, items aligned in order to start shopping for what's going to be your next home.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you truly need a plan before you go out there in the market. It's kind of like going out blindfolded when you haven't done a loan consultation, because it's much more than how much you qualify for. There's a big difference between what you qualify for and what you can afford. And like we mentioned, with the market shifting, there are different strategies that you and
Mhm.
I work together on to make sure
Right.
that your time is efficient when you're out there shopping for a home. Um, and you can set realistic expectations, and you know really set yourself up for success. Um, because you and I both know a home buyer can go out there and tour homes and fall in love, but if you don't have those parameters set in place, then it's an emotional purchase, which we, again, there's no way to remove them completely. But when you have that consultation and you work with professionals that can really, make it a enjoyable process.
Right. So then here's another instance. Sometimes, and I highly suggest this, that if you are considering exploring your options of home buying, you start now. That doesn't mean you have to go out shopping, even if you are ready. We have to make sure that everything is aligned. But even if it is, and it's not the right time for you, at least we know that you're ready to go for when that time comes. But let's just say, Julian, though, so we get a buyer pre-approved to go, home hunting. So then, but they're not ready yet. You know, how long is this pre-approval uh, good for? How long does this last?
Yeah, so your pre-qualification is valid for 90 days, and that is because your credit report is only valid for 90 days. And typically, what I do in these scenarios is have a kind of a general conversation. We set some ground rules up front when you are in the home, buying process to, number one, not acquire any additional debt, or do your best not to. If you do, then, I just need to add that to your liabilities and see if that has any impact on the amount you qualify for. Um, and so we reissue your pre-qualification letter. And the great thing with my company is that we can do a soft credit pull, where it's not going to impact your credit. So I can take a look without affecting your credit score, and therefore extend that pre-qualification period.
Right.
And
Okay. Well, I think. Oh,
I was just going to say you made a great point there that it's never too early to start to have the conversation when you are connected to professionals. You can stay up to date with again, there's so many things that are changing, like today with the Federal Reserve announcement increasing the Fed fund rate and how that might impact your purchasing power.
right.
And if I've had plenty of buyers that have intentions of going out into the market to purchase a home, but for whatever reason couldn't find the right location, couldn't negotiate the contract that they needed to in order to make the purchase. A good one for them. That's okay. We just want to be there for you along the ride to guide you in that process.
For sure. Just give us a chance, guys. We really, really, really enjoy what we do. So I think there's no additional questions or anything that we need to touch up on. As always, I greatly appreciate your time, Julian. If anything else comes up, guys, if you have any questions, if there's a certain topic you'd like for us to discuss, just DM us. As usual, our information is below, is going to be showing up here on your screen. Reach out, text us, email us, DM us, whichever way is easier for you. We're here for you to help you answer and address your concerns, right?
Yeah, 100%. Very accessible. Uh, Whatever your preferred method of communication, again, will never make you feel pressured into making any kind of decision. Um, it really is my pleasure to educate anybody that has these type of questions. That's what we're here for.
Exactly. Well, as always, a pleasure. Like I said, every Wednesday, guys, every Wednesday at 2:30, we're going to keep doing these. And I hope that this was helpful, that you found value in what we shared, and that you connect again next Wednesday. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Julian. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
See you guys. Take care.